In these video clips, we're going to demonstrate a few different ways of clipping into a quick draw. We're also going to demonstrate what back clipping is, so you know how to assess that the rope is coming out of the quick draw in the right direction. And we're also going to take a look at the best way to clip into the bolt to reduce the risk of the quick draw unclipping itself from the bolt. First, we're gonna take a look at how a quick draw might behave on the bolt itself. So when we clip the quick draw in, it's better to clip it in from left to right if the hanger is set up like this one with the nut, which is the way they'd normally be set, hanger and then the nut on the right hand side of the plate. The reason for that is as you move around the bolt with the rope, your body dragging the rope around, this nut can offer a useful feature in that as the quick draw rotates around, it stops at the nut and it stops it rotating any further. So as this goes round, the nut blocks the quick draw from rotating any further. If you clip it from this side, what can happen, if I now rotate this round, I've just unclipped it fairly easily, and you can imagine that if I was here and I was climbing out this way and then I moved off to the right, the rope might drag this in that direction and then unclip itself. But if I clipped it from this side, then there's every chance that the nut would stop it rotating anymore and it's just guided. We've already looked at the different characteristics of the quick draws on the ground. So now what I'm going to just do is demonstrate how, by choosing a quick draw that's more flexible, how this is unlikely to happen whichever way you've done it. So let's just go to maybe not one of the really long ones, but one that's, you know, not much longer than this one. Let's actually have a look and see how much longer that is. So if we measure them up, maybe a little bit more than an inch longer. Okay, so not going to impact on the distance we fall. Just have a look at and see if this behaves any differently. So clip it in that way, which is the way I'm recommending, and then we bring it round, and again it's guided by the nut. Bring it round this way, and we're going to see, because there's no stiffness there, it's very difficult for me to get it to do anything more than it's doing now. It just keeps moving around. If I maybe reduce the size of this loop and manipulate it, I can, right, so that's me cheating, actually reducing this loop and allowing myself to have more control over what this does. But on its own, with the rope in this carabiner, I dare say I could probably do this a million times and it probably wouldn't unclip itself. But with a stiffer, shorter draw, I managed to do it first time. We're going to have a look at how we clip the rope into the quick draw once it's on the bolt. It might be interesting to establish, before we look at certain clipping techniques, how we can do it wrong, how we can back clip, and why that's not good. Back clipping would be having the rope that's going to me, the climber, running on the inside of the quick draw. So we have the quick draw here hanging down. My rope is between the quick draw and the rock. The belayer's rope is on the outside of the quick draw. Now, the way it should be is this. My rope should be on the outside of the quick draw. So the quick draw is between the rock and the rope. Belayer's rope going to the ground, is on the inside next to the rock. So I'll show you why back clipping isn't so desirable. So if we were to fall off, so take the rope up above the quick draw now. So as you fall off and the rope falls across the gate, there's a good chance that it might unclip itself from the rope, or from the rope from the gate, which is obviously bad. If you clip it correctly, as you fall, if the rope does brush against the gate, it turns the gate towards the rock and the rock becomes a shield, and that's what stops A, from the gate opening, and B, from the rope coming out of the quick draw. So if you clip correctly, the rope should turn the gate away from it towards the rock, and that guards the rope from unclipping. The more flexible the quick draw is, the less likely the rope will unclip itself from the quick draw, regardless of whether you back clipped or not. It doesn't mean that it's a good idea to just back clip whatever, even if the quick draw is long and flexible, but at least it gives you that extra bit of security that if I actually try to get my rope to fall across the gate, it turns away from the rope so readily that it's virtually impossible for me to make that happen, and that's back clip. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start running my finger down the quick draw to make it stiffer, to see at what point I can get it to unclip itself. So quite difficult. Yeah, so that's holding it down here, very stiff. One of the reasons that's very difficult to do is because the nose is low profile here. So what we've got is a very straight gate and a very low profile nose, and very little for the rope to grab hold of as it brushes onto the gate. Whereas something that might be curved or bent, the rope can sit in that curve, and that can help it to open the gate. In these video clips, we're going to demonstrate a few different ways of clipping into a quick draw, and they differ depending on which direction the carabiner on the quick draw is facing when you approach it. So in this method, which we'll call method 1, we're scooping the rope up over our middle finger, going above the quick draw, dropping back down, using our thumb and our middle finger to trap the carabiner, and then pushing the rope into the gate with our index finger. So scooping the rope up, letting it sit on the middle finger just in front of the middle knuckle, and then we're controlling the carabiner with our thumb and our middle finger, squeezing the carabiner and our middle finger right on the very nose below the gate of the carabiner, and then we're pushing the rope in with our index finger. Okay, so in this one, method 2, people find slightly easier. We're still scooping the rope up with our hand, with a palm up, and we're running it up in a ring between our thumb and our index finger, and we're twisting the rope slightly towards us. The middle finger goes into the carabiner. Right on the tip of the middle finger, we pull down onto the carabiner to firmly control it with our wrist low, and then we bring our thumb and our index finger up and push the rope into the carabiner with our thumb. So the strong position is the middle finger pulling down hard, and has to be the tip of the middle finger pulling down hard on the carabiner, and then we raise the rope up while pinching it with our thumb on our index finger, and then push it into the gate with our thumb. So whichever clip-in method you're going to use, you should always take the rope from your harness. So if you scoop the rope up by your knot and you run your hand down the rope before pulling it up, you will ensure that you can't grab hold of the rope below the previous bolt. So as you run your hand down the rope, you'll come to the quick draw below you if it's close, and then as you pull rope up, your hand will naturally be above that quick draw. If you just reach down and then grab the rope, there's a chance that you may have reached past the previous bolt, pulling rope up from below it and then clipping in the bolt above, in which case you will be Z-clipped. Rock & Son have put together this collection of instructional videos, so those of you that have been on one of our courses or holidays can use it as a reminder of what you were taught and what you practiced during the week or weekend. We appreciate that there is often far too much new information to remember it all, and hope these short clips will act as a useful resource for our many clients. They should not be seen or used as standalone instructional videos, and can in no way substitute face-to-face instructions from a qualified guide or instructor. However, if you have already been on one of our courses, we think they will be clear and easy to follow. Many of them will have a longer edit with how to avoid common mistakes and other important safety information or improvements to some of the things you may have been taught
or that you might see in the short edit. We are always looking at ways to improve and make safer the systems and procedures that we teach, so I recommend that you watch them in full to ensure that you take all of the necessary information and pick up on anything that we might have changed or improved since the original filming. The climbing industry is constantly moving on in terms of new equipment and better or safer ways of doing things, and as such, Rock & Son from time to time may offer improved ways of approaching standard procedures. Rock & Son's participant statement is that the activity of climbing and mountaineering is inherently dangerous, and therefore it carries the serious risk of injury or death. Although it is possible to minimize these risks, it is important that participating individuals realize and accept the risk and take full responsibility for their own actions. We strongly advise seeking first-hand instruction by a qualified guide or instructor prior to climbing outside unsupervised.